Welcome back to the second half. We've got a roll-on, roll-off system here this evening. Rolling off in the corner of the studio is Jonathan Buchan of BBC Radio Sheffield. He'll be rolling back on shortly. Rolling on for now is James Gregg. He'll be rounding up the whole of the sporting scene, and there's plenty going on. And still here, can't get rid of them, Jon Newsome and Mike Tuck. Mike from Sheffield Sharks basketball team. Just before we come to James, topping and tailing the Owls and your thoughts from the other night, Adam Reach's debut looked quite good on the limited highlights I saw. Your impressions?
Yeah. I think first off, he played in a little bit of a subdued performance, so wasn't great. But he looked like he was lively, he was athletic, he got at people, and then he slotted in at left back in the second half. But it was like a marauding left back. He was getting forward, backing up Forestieri, and it linked up well. And he looked good. And I liked some of the back to front balls he stuck into strikers' feet. And good signing.
Worth it at 7 million. It rises to 7 million.
I don't know, who's worth 7 million today, but...
Well, I'm going to name drop now, because I was in the studio with Mark Lawrenson for the Ref Show on Monday, and between part 1 and part 2, we were talking about Adam Reach, and he said, I can't believe it, he says, £7 million, what's the world coming to? And I said, don't you rate him, Mark? He said, he said, I rate him, he's a good player. He said, I'd have him. He said, but not 7 million. He said, I think that's just the world we live in.
That's the thing, you say that, but Cristiano Ronaldo was 28 million, and now you can only just afford blooming, Balesi,
Yeah.
So, it's all relative, isn't it? And I don't know how you think about this, but will he feel that pressure? He's the record signing, 7 million quid. Will he feel that, or will he not? Will he just
Don't know what he's like, do you?
I don't know. I don't know him personally, but I could only relate to me when that happened to me when I went to Norwich, and I sat in the press conference and they said, well, what do you think about the fee and the record signing? And I said, I don't even know what it is. It was £1 million. £1
million.
Yeah.
Can you believe that Sheffield Wednesday paid £1.6 million for him?
No.
That's from memory. They did. 1.6 million.
Yeah.
That was about 97?
They were the big white fivers, I think.
Was it 96, yeah? Was it 96?
96, yeah, 96. March 96.
David Pleat,
yeah. 20 years ago.
We won't discuss whether he was worth it or not now. We'll wait till he's...
I'm sure he was.
Probably not.
We're 15 now at that.
He would be. He would be. Yeah, he would. Right, mate, what have you got?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about the Blades. I know you're going to touch on them a little bit more when Johnny comes back on, but they played Peterborough on Saturday, who sits 6th in the table, just a point ahead of the Blades. It's still early season, so I sort of loathe referencing the league table at this stage. But the Posh, they're coming off the back of 2-2-all draws. The Blades are definitely going to be the informed team on Saturday, coming off the back of 3 straight wins after 3 points in the 3-2 win down at Wimbledon last week. And another win here would certainly show that the Blades' season is up and running. As for Sheffield Wednesday, well, Kieran Lee scored a stoppage time winner as Sheffield Wednesday came from 2 goals down to beat Bristol City on Tuesday night. It's goals and moments like that, and I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say this, that sort of keep the seasons alive. Those late goals, they make all the difference come the end of this season, come May time, don't they?
I'll just interrupt you briefly about Kieran Lee, because it strikes me, and I've seen many of the goals that he scored, he's a hell of a finisher, that guy. When he gets in position to score, he scores. What a clinical finish again from him. Are you impressed? He's near enough the best finisher in the club.
Absolutely, and sort of like in that last 10 minutes, Fletcher had a couple of chances. First one was difficult, really. It was like a skiddy ball into him, and he tried to hit it with his left foot. And then the second one was a ball that rolled into him, and you could see how frustrated he was, really, because they were snapping at them. It was the last 10 minutes, and they were, it was real like edge of the seat stuff. And then he just swanned in, did Kieran Lee, and fired it off
to the side of the guy and just slotted.
Yeah, cool as a
brilliant composure. But he scored, I remember, in the playoff game against Brighton again. Makes it look very easy when he finishes these off, and he gets into some great positions as well. And he's one of those who's really had to fight for his place, I dare say, with all these other players coming in.
Absolutely, he had virtually the same chance, probably 20 minutes earlier, and he stuck it in the sort of like the near post, and the keeper pulled a great save off, and
So
then
he hit the target again.
and then he went the other side.
Marvellous, yeah. Okay. Johnny will be here talking about Blades shortly, I promise.
Sure he will.
Somebody's asked, somebody on Twitter, Bennett, somebody called Bennett, not Seth Bennett, saying, can I ask Johnny what he thinks of the Blades promotion prospects? So we will.
Very good. Well, we'll finish off with the Owls. They travelled St Andrews on Saturday, late kick-off to play against Birmingham, 5:30 p.m. that one on Saturday evening. Hallam FC, Joel Perkins' first goal for Hallam secured 3 points for them at Nostell Miners last week. Were identified where that was on the map near Wakefield, just to refresh you. Keeps them second in the table. They've got a game in hand on top. On the team that's top of the league, and they play against Knaresborough this weekend away from home. While Sheffield FC, first league win of the season for them, glad they're up and running and off the bottom of the table, against Rugby Town last weekend, 4-2 win. The ladies' side, though, they had a sterling win over Aston Villa on Sunday. They take on London Bees this weekend in a rearranged game. Remarkable run, 8 games unbeaten with 5 wins in there as well. What a great first season in the Women's Super League 2. It's been for Zoe Johnson and her side. They're 5th in the table. Even though there's no promotions this season, it bodes well for the next one.
Certainly does.
We'll come to the Sheffield Eagles. We spoke about this in recent weeks on this programme, looking for investment. Well, it's emerged today that the fans are trying to raise £20,000 in the next 3 weeks to keep their club alive until a longer-term investment is secured. An online fundraising campaign is led by Nikki Swire, who's the daughter of the chairman, Ian. It's already raised more than £3,000 in just over a day. And it sort of follows that, I'm not sure if you've been following it or not, but an unnamed investor has promised to support the Sheffield Eagles, but his funding, including a new stadium that could cost up to £7 million, depends on whether his plan to build a £35 million biomass power plant is approved by the City Council. So basically, that all relies on whether the council grant his planning permission for this power plant.
That's all a bit iffy, but in the meantime, people can keep Sheffield Eagles alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a £20,000 initial target, wasn't it?
Yeah, £20,000 in the next 3 weeks, which, you know, is doable.
It is doable, yeah.
They've done 3,000 just today alone, so bodes well for them. And you know, away from all that, they play against Bradford Bulls in the final game of the season on Sunday, away from home in a great stadium, a great atmosphere against a rugby team with a lot of history on Sunday. Sheffield Steelers, they won their first Challenge Cup game last weekend. They've got a double header this weekend in the same competition. Coventry away on Saturday, followed by the first meeting of the season with the Nottingham Panthers at the arena on Sunday. Kel Brook's fight last week didn't go to plan, but I'm sure his stock has has definitely risen, sorry. A great performance against Gennady Golovkin, perhaps drops down into a few lower weight divisions again. Try and get Dominic Ingle on this programme. Yeah,
we'll do. I mean, there's been a bit of criticism and controversy about that. I mean, I'm no boxing expert, but I do know the Ingle family. I've known Brendan for many years, and I know they're good people. And I think Dom,
boxing people, not doing it for any financial gain at all. It's a sensible decision.
And his first concern and priority, in my view, was exactly the right one for his fighters' well-being and safety. And it was a big call for a trainer to make.
The boos inside the stadium, I don't think really echoed the fact that what people were feeling who were watching it at home, because the people in there want to see the entertainment. That's where the boos came from.
You can get wrapped up in it, and obviously he was having a good go, Kel.
Yeah, but he lives to fight another day, and of course he's still the world welterweight champion, so plenty more fights from him to come. And we'll quickly finish off with the golf. Italian Open, Matt Fitz and Danny Willett both in action ahead of their Ryder Cup tournament in a couple of weeks' time. They've only played one hole today in a rain-affected Italian Open, but they both birdied the first hole, so not all bad.
Yeah, and just going back a week, we were sitting here with the captain of Sheffield Steelers, Jonathan Phillips, and he was kind of admitting that they were playing Red Bull Salzburg in the Champions League, who'd beaten them 8-1 in Austria, and he was kind of agreeing with me that they were very unlikely to have any success.
Turned it around,
and they go and beat them at
absolutely.
Sheffield Arena. So it's a fantastic result. The best, even with all the great glories that Sheffield Steelers have had. They're talking about it as the best result in their distinguished history. Start of a new chapter where they hope to be in Champions League, constantly going forward. James, thanks very much.
No worries at all. I'll make way for Mr. Buchan.
Yeah, we're going to make a substitution. Johnny's going to come back in. But before he does, Barnsley FC. Now, Huddersfield have caused a few surprises. But relatively, when you look back to this time last year and even beyond into mid-season when Barnsley were at the foot of League One, where they are now is unbelievable. Third in the Championship. What do you make of it? Have you seen them? What do you think?
I saw him in the playoff final last year. I've not seen him this season. But just refreshing, isn't it? It's just refreshing that they've got a young manager who's been given a chance, been given an opportunity, who seems to do all the right things in terms of his man management. He's got ideas how he wants the game to be played, and all the players are bought into that, and they've gone out and played with no fear.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean the result on Tuesday night, you know, 4-0 at Wolves, and Wolves have started the season pretty well for Wolves, really. You know, they're amazing, absolutely.
What is the secret? It's 4 quick-fire goals in about 15 minutes or something. Yeah. What's going on?
I think,
how are they doing this?
I think John's touched on it. It's that lack of fear. They've got such a young squad. I think it might be the youngest squad in the Championship. I'm pretty sure it is. And that's one of the major factors for them. That the players are going out there without any fear at all and just relishing this challenge of being thrown into the mix of a very competitive league. I've seen Wolves as well this season. Like you say, they're a good side of Wolves. They'll be okay this season. They'll be flirting around the playoffs, or certainly hoping to do so. And Barnsley's start, I think most of us at BBC Sheffield anyway thought they'd do okay this season, be mid-table. But the start they've had is absolutely incredible. And you've got to give credit to Patrick Crown, you've got to give credit to the coaching system they have there and the way they implement it, because that has been the key to success to carry it on. And
Paul Heckingbottom, because actually Lee Johnson started this revival before he went to Bristol City. I mean, we shouldn't forget that. No. They'd come out of the crisis and were starting to win with this young team that you talk about. And that's the other very refreshing thing about it. It is with young players. So I'm looking forward to Saturday to go in and find out more. Meantime, Blades, what do you think? I mean, that question on Twitter cut right to the chase. Promotion prospects. So what do you say?
I think they've got chances. I think they certainly have. I think the way that they've started to play, that they've changed it a little bit in terms of the formation, playing 3 centre-halves, couple of wide men.
Will they do that
really helped them.
Will they do
That'll be the big question this week. I'm at the Peterborough game this Saturday, so I'll be interested to see whether they do. I think they probably will, because I think that they feel they need to be on that front foot now. And with this momentum that they've got, 3 wins in a row, they will fancy their chances this weekend against a decent Peterborough side. You know, they've got George Moncur, who scored 2 goals on loan from Barnsley the other day. So he's someone who we know is a threat in that division. But I think with the momentum they have going, I don't think there was ever any real panic at the start of the season. There were a few fans who weren't too happy with how it started, obviously, but I think that they've managed to keep themselves under check a little bit. With Chris Wilder at the helm, he's a blade through and through, isn't he? Which I think is the perfect recipe for them. Their most successful eras have always been with a blade at the helm, haven't they? So I think
they
it's
were
a
with
big
Neil
factor.
Warnock. They were with Neil Warnock. Dave Bassett certainly wasn't.
No,
but,
no.
You know, he's the other one. I think it can wear thin very quickly if the team's not doing well. But you know, he's perfectly entitled to patience, a degree of patience which he had at the start of the season, as Johnny says. And it's a kind of football that he wants to win that ball in the opposition half. He's not wanting to, you know, for it to come into their half before they win it back and the whole team be raged against them. And that seems to be getting through to the players, to me, my observation anyway. They're winning it back pretty quickly in the other team half, trying to attack.
Yeah, I mean, I know Chris, and his track record speaks for itself, doesn't it? You know, he's been at, you know, lower leagues, and he's been at clubs where he's not had big budgets, and he's had to coach players and get players to and teach them how he wants them to play football. And you can't go in there and wave a magic wand and it all be, you know, right all of a sudden. And you know, there's plenty of stick flying around between the two sides of the city, aren't there? But you know, I think he will come good.
And I spoke to Mark Duffy today, their pre-match press conference, and he said that it is purely down to the fact that they've had so many new players signed in the summer, and they're just gelling now. They're just getting used to playing together,
and he's one of them,
that is going to be one of the factors. And I said, well, what's changed? What's the key behind it? He says, there's nothing that's changed. We're not doing anything different. It's just we're getting used to playing together and knowing instinctively where he's going to be when I have the ball and where I need to be when I don't have the ball, because he's going to be there. It's all those little factors that will take time to come, and you just hope that they happen sooner rather than later, and you can make sure that the gap to those automatic promotion spots, which is what everyone's hoping for, isn't too large.
Yeah, they seem to be clicking into places. I mean, the new players are starting to feature and come to the fore. The new centre-half in particular, Ebanks, Landell, seems a formidable player. The one that hasn't really figured so far, perhaps would surprise you at this level, is Leon Clark. You know, great goal-scoring record, and he's like looking in from the outside, trying to get a play.
Started the first couple of games, didn't he? And you know, he battles up there. He wins the ball up there. He had a few opportunities in one of the home games I saw recently and didn't take them. And you just wonder whether, I mean, Billy Sharp's always going to be in that side and should always be in that side.
Yeah.
4 goals for him already this season. He's absolutely flying, isn't he? So he'll always be in that side. And it just you kind of have to work out who works best with him.
Yeah, you need some pace alongside him, don't you? Essentially, Billy Sharp is not the quickest, so he's got 2 options there. And it's interesting, I think, a player that you all know, Kaylon Lavery, is likely to feature, possibly start for the Blades on Saturday, first time. What do you think of him?
Yeah, he's always, you know, I've seen him when he was at Hillsborough, and again, he's a young player, isn't he? What needs a chance, you know, and you know, it's by he needs a chance. You know, he needs a running the team. You know, you can't chuck lads in for 2, 3, 4 games and then pull them out and then put them on a sub. And you know, they need to go and play football, and they need to learn playing in the reserves and playing, you know, academy games, that kind of thing. It's totally different to when you walk across that white line and you're in that stadium, and it matters. You know, it really matters. It's 3 points, and you know, it means life or death to people sat watching you, and that's where you learn the game, and that's where experience comes. And I think, you know, if you give him a run, and you know, I think it'll be a decent signing.
I must say, I like the fact that Chris Wilder hasn't rushed him in and has given him several weeks actually to bed in, because players can. I remember at Hillsborough when he had that injury and he came back rather quickly from it and didn't look like the same player. And everybody else has hit the ground running at the start of the season, and he's having to come into a team that's in a groove now. So it's not that easy.
He said today, Chris Wilder, that they were always planning to do that. No matter what state he was in, they were going to give him time to bed in, to get used to what they want from him, to get up to his match fitness again, because you know his contract issue at Sheffield Wednesday was meaning he wasn't playing any football for them. He was training with the youth side, so there were issues there as well. And I'm sure mentally he's probably been in quite a difficult place. I know he has, because I've interviewed him, that he's been in quite a difficult place in his last 6 months at Sheffield Wednesday, because he was pretty much told, well, we're not going to play you, and we don't want you playing for anybody else at the minute, so off you go, there you go, play with the kids. And that's not a position that any player wants to be in. And I think he's probably putting that behind him and getting back up to speed, and he must be dying to get out there and just play some football.
Having been in limbo, as you say, and good luck to Kaylon Lavery, or Keelan Lavery, I think is the right pronunciation, at Sheffield United. We'll come back to you guys before the end of the programme on the football scene. But Mike Tuck, Sheffield Sharks against Leicester. This weekend, curtain raiser to the season, the new season at the EIS. Are you in shape, and how do you boys prepare for a new season?
I am in shape, and Coach Atiba's made sure of that.
Does he set you a close season regime, or do you leave it to yourselves?
This summer we really hunkered down, and the guys that were still around in the city, we had training sessions, 2-3 times a week, and then I was hitting the weight room almost every day. I think it's important in the off season to maintain a certain level, and especially as the years go on and I get a little bit older, you got to stay in there a little bit longer. So,
how old are you now?
33.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that old for your sport? I wouldn't have said not a veteran.
Definitely. I'm definitely one of the older players in the league. Most guys will play through till, some guys will play till like 30, and then 33, 35. Beyond that's there's not really too many.
You're living on borrowed time then, are we?
Hey, there's still life in these legs. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
You must be chasing some sort of record, though, personally.
Well, I've been with the club, going into my 8th season. So I'd love to, get the testimonial and be here, play for 10 seasons. I think that'd be a great thing to have. And after winning the playoff final last season, it just amps you up, and it's like you get addicted to those championships. So I'd like to get a couple more of those under my belt before I retire.
It would be really fantastic, and it's a great continuing success story when we've got Steelers and Sharks doing this. And let's hope Sheffield Eagles survive to fight on as well, because they brought great glory to the city, haven't they? And it's sad to see them struggling as they are at the minute. Ray Matthews, before I forget, Ray Matthews was sitting here last week. You'll have seen him on TV. He's been everywhere in all the papers and everywhere this week. Literally, he's been everywhere because he's run a marathon a day for 75 days at 75 years old. But congratulations, Ray, if you're watching this evening. He completed that incredible feat on Wednesday, and as I say, it's been, I mean, he'd probably be more tired from the number of interviews he's had to do, media interviews, than he was from the running.
He must have a major come down now as well. What does he do with all of his spare time now?
Exactly.
Having done that.
Exactly. What is he doing today? Because today's the first day.
An ice bath.
Yeah. A lot of players, when they finish, John, they have that kind of, you've got to keep, a optimum fitness for so many years, and then a relief. You don't have to go into training anymore. And a lot of players just let themselves go, don't they? I'm not present company accepted.
I think it's easy to do, to be honest, Alan. The other thing is as well that you've spent your life really eating, and especially back in my era, eating and drinking what you wanted really within reason. I mean, Howard Wilkinson was quite a stickler, and you were banned from having been on licensed premises 48 hours before a game and that kind of thing. So I think he was one of the first to bring the sports science into football. But eating.
But in your day, we all know who they were, and it was whatever the manager said. It was pretty well abused, and many a manager turned a blind eye to it, and many a manager was actually involved in it, in the drinking side, because there was no social media. There were no people with phones with a camera to clock the fact that you're out in a nightclub at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday or Friday night.
That's right. And I just think that when players do finish, it's very difficult to come out of that rut of, you have your breakfast, you have your lunch, you have your dinner, you pick at this, you pick at that, because you're training, you're burning it off, and you're fine. And when you stop playing, they still have those habits, those eating habits and those drinking habits, and and then also, they've got no knees or no ankles, so they can't run around. And but it's a recipe for disaster.
It is really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is really. It needs something to replace. Not just the physical side of it, but the emotional side of it as well, the high that you must be on
I think that's why most players would love to stay in football, coaching, and that's what I effectively wanted to do when I finished, and did my badges and things. But and it's like, it's the second best thing you can do, because all you wanted to do was play. That's taken away from you, so I still want to be involved in it, and it, it's you've got to get your head around it, and it's a bitter pill to take at times.
Sure
but there's there's life after football, and there's plenty other things to do.
Golf.
Yeah, golf, cycling.
Golf, cycling.
I do a lot of cycling now, and that's all right for my knees, and hopefully, keeps a bit of the weight off.
He's not so much into coaching, but cars, because he sells cars. Yeah. You told me to say that.
No, I didn't. No. I'd have had my T-shirt on otherwise.
We have to get. That is by way of a fee to a guest. Thanks everybody for a thoroughly entertaining nearly an hour. Thank you to you for watching. If you missed any of it, it'll be on my YouTube channel later, and a repeat on Sheffield Live TV at 11 p.m. this evening. Next week, I can tell you that among my guests, possibly he might even be on his own, I'm not sure, the former Sports Minister Richard Cabourn will be here. There's a big dinner actually coming up at the EIS to celebrate Sheffield's sporting excellence, but we will talk about a lot more than that. Meantime, Johnny Buchan, Jon Newsome and Mike Tuck, thanks very much indeed, and thank you to you for watching. See you next week. Bye.